Hey, so thanks for tuning in. A little bit of a different video this time. It's not really a how-to, it's more of a why is it leaking video. So as you know, I'm doing a 915 gearbox rebuild for someone and the engine's actually leaking quite a bit of oil. So he's asked me while the gearbox and the engine are out and we're waiting for parts for the box, why don't we have a look at some fixes and fix some of the leaks? Well, the leaks have turned into something a little bit more substantial. We're now rebuilding the engine because we have found the reason why it's leaking, and the cause is not something I've ever come across before. I thought it would be the triangle of death that was leaking, which everyone knows about, but that was completely bone dry. All of the leaks appear to be coming from one part of the engine, which is cylinder 6, and I don't want to give the game away, but watch the video and we'll uncover a few things throughout which give us the reason as to why we're rebuilding the engine. So stick around, stay tuned till the end. I guarantee it will be worth it. Do me a favor, hit the like button or the thumbs up. And if you could be so bold as to even subscribe, that'd be fantastic. And yeah, I appreciate the support. Thanks for watching. Pretty sure it's been off, this has been apart before. All the head studs are intact. You can see some of the nuts are new, some of them are old. So this one here, bottom right hand side was quite rounded, but all of the nuts do take torque. But yeah, I'd say the head studs, or I'd say some of the head studs have been replaced. They've probably only done the broken ones, but either way, it's been apart before. All the rocker shafts look to be correctly aligned. This one's actually a little bit too far in, so we'll attend to that. I don't see... Yeah, there's definitely some oil leaking out from that rocker shaft. This one, not too bad. That one looks dry on the end. And yeah, so we'll just go through and give a little bit of a clean, and we'll just double check. Yeah, that one's a little bit sweaty. But yeah, this one on the inside here looks to be a bit oily, but again, I don't think that's caused much of an issue in terms of oil leaks. It's not great, but see how far it is. But this is the side. Is this the side with all the leaks? Yeah, it is. So I'll pull the oil cooler off and have a bit of a look. But all the head studs are intact. I think at some point this has probably had just a top-end rebuild, and potentially the through bolt O-rings might be ruptured. But let's pull off this oil cooler and have a look. I mean, I do see... You can't see what I can see. But in there, at the bottom of the oil cooler, I can see a lot of oil coming out of potentially the cooler itself. So I wonder if the cooler's got a leak, because it's quite wet up there. I wish I could show you. See up there? In the middle of the fin, it's quite wet. And I wonder, yeah, we'll do a leak test on this cooler and see if it holds pressure. Interesting. Okay, so I've got the oil cooler off, and so in here, you can see the seals. They look pretty good. I mean, I think they've been replaced at some point, obviously when the engine was apart. There's no oil coming from that through bolt. I don't believe there's any oil coming from the bottom through bolt. It looks like a little bit of moisture, probably from that window that's, you know, part of the service bulletin, that they're all meant to be plugged up, but I guess we'll try and do that. But it's quite oily here between the head and the top of the cylinder. Cam tail plug hasn't been leaking. I was able to put a nut on that exhaust stud that was bare. But for all of that to be leaking, I just wonder whether... I don't know. I just don't know whether it's been leaking between the head. I mean, the head stud is there, and it takes torque. Or whether this is a combination of oil that over time has been blowing up. That's why it's up here, because it's blown up a little bit. I mean, there's quite a lot there on the side of the case. I really think it's coming maybe from the cylinder to the case, or the head to the cylinder. I've got the oil draining from the cooler, Someone's painted it all, because they painted everything on the back here black to try and make it look less shitty. So this is the inside part of the cooler facing the oh no, that's the back. So this is the inside part facing the cylinder. For the oil to be up here, I don't think that's blown up. I think it's coming from, and all that blackness is combustion. I think there's a leak between the head and the cylinder. Maybe they weren't machined correctly. Maybe the heights aren't correct. But I will pressure test this. I thought it might have been a leak coming from the cooler itself under here, but no, that's all just oil from up here running down. I hate to be the bearer of more bad news. I was just doing the valve clearances, and when I was just pushing on this, I noticed that I could push this in with just my finger pressure, which is like, huh? How can I do that? So it turns out there's two valve springs, an outer and an inner. I'll see if I can record this. See if you can, valve spring here, the big, see that? It's broken. That should not be jiggling like that. So number 1 and number 2 have broken valve springs on the intakes. I believe the rest of them are all okay. Not good. Turns out that the oil leaks were not because of the so-called triangle of death. As you can see, the thermostat, the switch and the plate are not too bad. There's a little bit of moisture from the hose dripping down the side there, but that's nothing. All of the leaks were actually coming from between the cylinder head and the top of the cylinder. What I did was, I did a leak down test, and 4 cylinders, I mean, I know it was a cold leak down test, so 4 of the cylinders were reading 90%, which is good. 2 of them were reading 70 to 75%. Number 4, most of the leaks are coming out through the crankcase, because all the air is hissing out through the breather. And number 6, it was all just leaking out between, if you got a hose, you'd hear it just go out between the head and the top of the cylinder. So evidenced by, see if I can get the camera up there, all of that muck. So unfortunately that was bad. So the owner was thinking, oh geez, I haven't really budgeted for a rebuild now. So as you can imagine, everybody's going through the 7 stages of grief when they find out there's some issues with their engine, so they need some time to process. So I sort of proceeded to, pull the valve covers off. I already had them off, sorry. I proceeded to check all the valve clearances and tighten them all up. And when I got to number 1, as I was leaning on it, watch this. Oh, see that? I'm holding the phone with one hand and pushing with the other, so I'm sort of, but you can see I'm actually just pushing. I mean, just with pressure, I can just squeeze that, which straight away suggested a broken valve spring. So it turns out the intake valve springs on number 1 and 2 are broken. I've got a camera. You can sort of jiggle the springs around with a tool. So the owner has agreed to rebuild his engine. At first we were thinking about a top-end rebuild, and he said, you know what, smart man, I want to keep this car forever, so let's just do the whole thing. So I'm now in the process of tearing it down. And the engine has definitely been apart before. It's had some work done. It's had a top-end rebuild at some point. And I think that's why I'm curious to see what I find when I pull this apart. But look at this. I've just got the intake off. They've cut the shroud to get the harness in. They cut that so they could pull the shroud off without undoing the wiring on the back of the alternator, which is really sad. So I don't know who did that, but that's just shocking. Haven't seen anything else too terrible yet, or if there is, I haven't noticed it. I think I'm going to talk him into doing a hydraulic chain tensioner upgrade, hopefully, because it's just got the original mechanical tensioners in there. It's not the end of the world. They're rebuildable. Maybe we can rebuild them and just put them back into service, but we're not quite at that point of making that decision. But yeah, we're not going to do any performance upgrades at all. I have put a bore scope down the cylinders, and they are Nickersil. As for Whether we've got cracked rings or cracked pistons and whatnot, I don't know that yet. So we're on a bit of an exploratory phase. Okay, so I've got a fair bit of disassembly on this engine now. I've got all the rocker arms and shafts out. They're all pretty good. So I've got the chains, I've got the sprockets off. Now I notice the 1, 2, 3 side, I can rotate the cam pretty easily. On the 4, 5, 6 side, I cannot rotate the camshaft by hand. The only way to rotate the camshaft is to put the sprocket and a bolt in, and then with some torque I can turn it. Now I'm wondering if that's got something to do with why this cylinder is leaking, number 6. As you can see, it's got massive leaks between the head and the cylinder. So I'm just wondering whether they have different gaskets or different head heights, or I'm not sure, but that might suggest something, because maybe the camshaft is being bound. So, the plot thickens. So what I've done there is I've just loosened up the nuts for the camshaft tower. Heads are all still bolted down, so I've just released it, and now, look at that. I can slide the camshaft in and out. No issues whatsoever. Turn it by hand easily. So, yeah, I'd say the head heights weren't correct when they put this together, and that's why it was leaking, and that's why this camshaft was under a lot of tension. So this is the reason why it was leaking and why the cams were binding. With the heads bolted down to the cylinders, it's meant to be pretty flat, and I've got a, don't know if you can see that gap there. I'll just try and get the camera down there. That's about 0.5 millimetre, which is a lot. I mean, I'm surprised that the cam was turning. Yeah, it's like a little seesaw. So that's why it's all out of alignment. I think, looking at the colours of the cylinders, it looks like this one's a slightly cleaner colour. I'm just wondering whether this one was replaced for some reason. Who knows? But either way, something's not right. I'll check the gaskets as well. I wonder whether they've got thicker ones in this one or whatnot. Who knows? Here's a little close-up of the broken valve springs. So that's cylinder number 1 intake. The engine's upside down here. You can see it's all, see the brake just there. And number 2 intake as well. So there's, it's broken. So it was just running on the internal springs, God knows how long for, but quite a long time. Okay, so this is the cylinder that was leaking the majority of the oil and had very, very low leak down. And okay, you can see that it's had the head studs replaced at some point, because it's got the newer, later model Dilava studs, which are fully threaded. So these are 993 studs. I don't know whether they replace the intake ones, but they're all going to come out and go in the bin regardless. And if you look at the sealing surface of the head, so that's the top, that's the exhaust side. Tell by the exhaust port and the small valve. But look at this surface here. It's obviously been leaking and burning, but more to the point, I think maybe when it had the broken head studs, maybe there was some damage that was done, potentially. I'm not too sure, but there is definitely a bit of a rid, so we'll need to take a few thou off the heads to clean them up. And if you look at the cylinder, well, the cylinder's probably not too bad. I mean, obviously we'll take it off and check, but just try and hold the phone. It does have the flame ring, but the flame ring is broken. Look at that. Actually, it's completely disintegrated. Huh. It's come apart. A bit hard to film with one hand, but look at that. You can see the inner spring in the groove. Now obviously there's the inside cylinder wall, and the outside cylinder wall should be sitting against the head. But again, I believe we don't have even surface heights across all three, because the camshaft was very, very tight. And potentially the camshaft, the head's not being level for whatever reason. Maybe they don't have the right gasket in the cylinder, we don't know yet. I'd say that's probably what's helped it along, as in, you know, cylinder leaking. That's probably what's caused the gasket to burn and break, and then of course all bets are off. And it's caused some fretting on the cylinder head surface. So yeah, all interesting stuff. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as you can see, number 6 has been replaced at some point. It's a fairly new piston compared to all the others. And looking at the tops of the, oops, pull those out of the way. Looking at the tops, see all the old ones don't have the central casting down the here, but this one does. It is a Marley. It is a Nickersill. It says Marley. It is Nickersill. It's slightly magnetic. It's got cross hatching. It is a Nickersill style piston, so I'm not quite sure why they don't have the casting down the centre like the old ones. But yeah, so this one's been replaced. I haven't checked the height groups yet because I haven't cleaned off enough of all the crap to be able to read the numbers. I could get my micrometer out, but what I've done is I've pulled off the base gaskets, the copper base gaskets, because as you remember in the previous video, when I put the straight level, the straight edge on one end, it was about 0.5 of a millimetre roughly on one side of a gap, which signifies that if I held the straight edge level, it'd be about 0.25 on either side. And as we both know, well, hopefully we all know, these copper base gaskets come in either a 0.25 mil standard or a 0.5 mil. And yeah, as it turns out, the one in the middle is actually a 0.5 mil. I'll just show you. I mean, they're a bit dirty, so, and you know, a bit of deformation, but this is the one on number 4. Just trying to get away from the, as you can see there, 0.24, 0.25. Do the one for number 6 on this side here. Just try and get a straight part that hasn't been crimped. There you go, 0.24, 0.25. This is the middle one, and you can feel it's quite a lot thicker already. There you go, 0.49. So that's the main reason why the centre one was obviously, well, yeah, the centre one was too high, so but instead of this one, number 4 also leaking, all the leaks were on number 6. So for whatever reason this one was replaced, and they didn't use the correct gaskets for the centre barrel. Interestingly, I didn't notice this before, but I'll take you over to, yeah, so they've got the dilava studs in for number 6, but numbers 4 and 5 just have original, actually let's just see, are they steel? I'll get my little magnet out. No. So these are dilava studs as well. Top ones are magnetic. Obviously the dilava ones aren't. But these are the original dilavas here, so they will be fun to get out. But on the left side, cylinders 1, 2 and 3, they've all been replaced with dilava on the bottom. The fully threaded ones. And we've still got all the original steel studs on top. So sadly for me, that's probably going to be one of my next jobs, is getting all the stupid head studs out. But that's why they pay me the big bucks, right? Do me a favour and subscribe to this video.